Okay, this fly is called a Green Hornet. It's a great low water spay fly for dark day conditions. We use it a lot on the Grand Ronde. It's an invention of ours. We're going to start out with a butt of black chenille. So you take some black chenille, bring the thread back to right in front of the barb, so it's hanging in front of the barb of the hook. Tie the chenille on 4 or 5 wraps. Then we're going to take some silver tinsel, some oval silver tinsel, and we're going to tie that on at the back end also. 5 or 6 wraps. Then bring the thread about halfway forward up the hook shank. We're about halfway. Take the black chenille, wrap it forward. Stop right there and bind it down. Trim it off. Pull the extra fuzzy stuff out of there. Then bring the thread up forward to just behind the eye of the hook, about an eye length. Then we're going to take some silver tinsel, flat. So we've got some flat silver tinsel here. This particular tinsel is mylar, so it's gold on one side, silver on the other side. When you're working with mylar, whatever color you want, you tie against the hook. So in this case, we're going to put the silver side against the hook, the gold side facing out. And start that at the front of the hook here. Bind it down really good. And we're going to wrap that back to the chenille. This is creating an underbody for the floss that we're going to put on this next section. When you're using fluorescent flosses, you want an underbody of either white thread or silver tinsel. The silver tinsel will make these fluorescent flosses shine really well in the water. Okay, so we've got that wrapped. Bind that down and cut it off. Then we're going to take some of this 2-strand unifloss. We've got fluorescent chartreuse here. And this is what we're going to use for the front portion of the body on this fly. Take about 8 to 12 inches of this, tie it at the front of the hook, bind it down really well, and now you want to wrap this back towards the chenille just like you did with the tinsel. Try and keep it as flat as possible. Okay, so we've got back to the chenille. Now we want to wrap this forward. This will give us 2 layers of floss here. Makes it a little bit tougher. I like the unifloss better than your standard rayon or silk floss. It's a little bit tougher. It's got a little bit of glisten to it, so it shines a lot better, especially on the dark days that we fish this fly. So we've got this wrapped forward now. We want to tie that off. And trim that out of there. Now we'll take our tinsel and we're going to wrap that forward through the butt and through the rest of the body. Try and take about 3 or 4 wraps in each section of the body. So you're going to wind up with 6 to 8 wraps depending on how you wrap your tinsel. We tie that off. Then instead of using blue-eared pheasant for the spay hackle, we like to use the really long black pheasant rump feathers. We dye them black. And you take the fuzz off the bottom of that feather. And we're going to separate out the fibers so we can tie that tip in, just like so. Tie that on 3 or 4 wraps. Pull the fibers back, bind it down 3 or 4 more wraps. Then we're going to fold this hackle back. Now be careful when you fold this particular feather back because they are very brittle, especially dyed black ones. Black makes for very brittle stems. So we've done that. Grab it with the hackle pliers. And we're going to wrap this forward. Make sure that you stroke the fibers back every time you make a wrap. Okay, so we've bound that down really well. Going to trim the stem off. Now these fibers that are sticking forward, just grab them and pull them back towards the back. Now we have a hackle there. The next step is to take some bronze mallard fibers. We always keep the stem attached to this. Cut off about a 1/4 inch piece of that and hold that off to the side. Take another bronze mallard fiber or feather, do the same thing, about a 1/4 inch section off to the side. Now we'll put these two together so that the tips are the same length. Put that on top of the hook, holding them together. Take 3 or 4 wraps just to bind it down and pull it back so that the fibers on that wing are together over the top of the hook. You want it to form sort of a tent wing on there. Now that it's on there, let's trim the stub ends off. Bind a little head down. And whip finish it.